Hey, I'm here with Erick Soto, the VP of Product here at Socure. And Erick and I were catching up earlier today, just talking about all the stuff that's going on in product, stuff that's come out over the past quarter, stuff that the product team is working on.
So starting off with the product team, a lot has happened, right? When I got here 10 months ago, there was no product team per se. Just big kudos to the team to taking the company and the product to where it is right now. But I think we were definitely at the stage where we needed to bring in true deep product discipline and expertise. So, things like moving to a new project management software, which is kind of the gold standard nowadays. Having everything in Jira, moving to a real agile development shop, assigning sprint teams behind product lines. So starting to split our product lines as they get more complex. They need individual attention. So building out my team in that regard, and we'll continue to build that out. Now, in terms of things that may not be immediately obvious to the client, things like we've invested heavily in our infrastructure, right? We continues to be the top priority. Our security architecture, our scalability of the platform in general, pushing the limits in terms of latency and how quick we can be to take thousands of data points and mesh them all into a model and have the model return a response through an API round trip in sub-second. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So if you look at how we've been improving through time, I think it's you can tell that there's a lot of work going on in the background.
Yeah, and I think just that work in itself would be impressive. Yeah. But at the same time, you're also producing new product, new capabilities,
Absolutely.
Which is really cool. So I know just recently, you've announced score normalization, which
That's
I think
right.
is really cool.
So one of the things that we've been doing is taking a look at the product, taking a look at the current version, and bringing a real deep customer experience lens to our product. So one of the things that we've done that shows, to that regards is score normalization, right? Like prior to this, if you look at one of our scores, it's very statistical, very mathematical, at times not intuitive or easy to interpret. A 0.235 might have meant, top 5% of risk, depends on what model you're consuming. So one of the things we've done is we've normalized the score to where it can be easily interpreted. So, for example, 0.990 represents the top 1% of your riskiest population. 0.980 represents the top 2. 0.970 the top 3, and you get the idea. It's very, very intuitive, very easy to interpret, and better. Even better, it has all of our internal teams speaking the same language. When we have to troubleshoot someone or a particular client, if everyone's using this score, then we know, within what population that particular call fell or how to interpret that particular call.
And did we do that across all products?
So we've done that across all products. So our flagship fraud score is now normalized. Our risk and correlation scores are now normalized. I think we still have some customers using older models due to the migration, so to speak. Right. But everyone that's onboarded since early December of last year does get these new normalized models and scores out of the box. So that's the shift and the transition we're aiming for.
That's good. I imagine our customer success team works with the clients to because they used to act on the score
Absolutely.
As it was. Now they're.
So I think they appreciate that more than anyone else. I'm sure customers will find that very attractive. But specifically, our customer success team, having them speak all the same language,
right.
Interpret the scores all the same. It's just a huge win to allow us to scale beyond where we are right now and continue our growth.
Yeah, I mean it makes tremendous sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. One of the other developments was around the mobile SDK and our doc verification product.
So that's a pretty exciting. So we've started toying with mobile, and you keep on hearing it's a mobile first world. So we've developed a Socure SDK. The first use case which this will address is doc verification. So we've inserted liveliness test into this SDK, auto capture. We even have a pre-fill option on the SDK. Take a picture of the front of your driver's license, the back of your driver's license, and it pre-populates on the application the information that's on that ID. mobile-first companies would understand and do understand that real estate on a small screen is at a premium. So whenever you can avoid clients, typing through 2-3 pages of information versus taking a snapshot of an ID, that's a much welcome feature. And on top of that, I think it integrates pretty nicely with the rest of our products, where you don't necessarily send an ID for forensic analysis or for additional tampering screening until the fraud score indicates that. So assuming that you have a low fraud score, everything looks good, then you keep the document verification at a simple pre-fill, versus if your fraud score comes back as high and a 0.990, your risk scores are high, your correlation scores are low, you may want to think about sending that image that was used for autofill into a step up for further forensic analysis.
And that's all available now?
That's all available. We've brought a customer experience. On top of that, we've brought a deep developer experience to where we want to make it super, super easy for developers and for our clients to integrate this. So it's as intuitive as it gets from an SDK perspective.
And speaking of clients and developers, I know that there's a lot of work that's been done on their experience in working with us.
So one of the things we've done is just recently we deployed a new sandbox environment, right? So a sandbox environment essentially is a testing environment that's given to third-party developers so that they can go build, test, vet, or outright experiment with the code while reducing the risk that may be introduced to an environment like a production environment. So this sandbox environment is a completely mocked environment. We've mocked the responses that you would get, but at the same time it mirrors our production environment. So it has all the same validations that the production environment would have. You get a simulation of all the scores, reason codes. Actually very proud of how this particular sandbox was designed. It's individual per module, so you can mix and match the response depending on module, and each module has a particular PII or attribute that is corresponding to that. So let me give you an example. For fraud score, we've made phone number the trigger value. So if you pass a trigger value as a phone number, you're going to get a particular fraud score. So you want to replicate what a high fraud score would be, then you pass this phone number. You want to replicate what a low fraud score would be, then you pass this phone number. On KYC, you have social security number as the trigger value. So you pass a particular defined social security number, you're going to get a particular KYC response that corresponds to like all the field validations failing, or SSN deceased, or SSN not found, and so on. So like on alert list, we have IP address that makes you simulate an alert list match. On watch list, we have name and date of birth that simulates a watch list match. So, I mean, we've designed it for every single module so that it doesn't contradict itself when you're structuring a call, even using all of our products.
It's going to make it just tremendously easier.
It's very powerful. It's also, we're looking at our clients to tell us, what we're missing. Just as a quick disclaimer, this environment is not intended to simulate every single permutation of our product. As you can imagine, with 8 different products, over 200 reason codes, you pretty much have infinite permutations. But at least the more common use cases, those are the ones that we've gone after, and we've designed it also in such a way where we can easily add test scenarios depending on what we hear from clients. It's like, geez, I really wish I could test this particular response. Tell us, and we can go ahead and build it into the environment.
It's very cool. And the last one, which I think is the most significant one, and we'll talk more about this, I think, in a separate segment, because there's a lot to talk about, but it's the new Sigma scores
Absolutely.
that we've come out with. I mean, it's just incredible.
I mean, yeah, I think that was very heavy lifting across all teams. We finalized, deployed the new Sigma scores. We've also deployed along with it new risk and correlation scores that are now defaulted to the application. We've added, for example, on the risk and correlation scores for email, phone, and address individually, over 50 predictors. We've moved those models to be true machine learning models rather than before it was kind of like a decision tree, which yielded a lot of false positives. We are fine-tuned for accuracy, so those new models are working really well, and we've seen a great deal of improvement in terms of performance. Now, on the Sigma models, I think that's where I get the most excited. We've developed machine learning models that are specific to a particular industry. So you have deposits, you have money service businesses or remittances, you have retail POS use cases, you have credit card. What we found is that individually per industry, we see different fraud vectors and different patterns and behaviors. So we've taken what used to be called our generic fraud model, and we specialized it to each particular industry, given all the training data that we've got and all the learnings that we've had. And now we can deploy it to a customer, and that customer not only learns from their particular application population, but as Sigma implies, it learns from the whole network, from the rest of those. If you have 5 issuers on credit card using Sigma models, like that machine learning model is learning across the network, so it becomes that much more powerful.
It's like a consortium model that was built in a way that the industry has wanted to do it. It's like it's finally come together.
When we were deploying, you take a custom model for a large client, like that model was getting trained based on the feedback from that particular client. Now we're taking the feedback from 5, 10, 20 different clients and training that particular model on those trends. So not only are you optimizing for fraud that you've seen in the past, but we're now trying to get ahead of what particular trends they could see, and it just gets smarter by we're currently training every 2 weeks, but we want to get it as close as real time as possible. But like you mentioned, there's just so much that we've done in that space that I think it deserves its own.
We will, and just not to belabor it, but the results that we're seeing from the Sigma models are even beyond what we're seeing in custom developed models, which is incredible.
So when we first started, the challenge was, can we get within 5% of what we've done with custom? We soon found out 5% is achievable. Then we were at par, and then by the time we deployed, we're even beyond what the custom models are delivering. So that's super encouraging. It's just all around. It's a big win, and it just keeps on getting better and better. We've seen models get close to 99.x% in terms of third-party fraud capture. But I'm not going to steal the thunder. I think you should hear it directly from our head of data science.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in another segment. It's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of great stuff to come to market with, and you don't rest. So I know there's more stuff being worked on and more stuff coming out, and we talked about some of these. Maybe we'll just hit a few of them, of the highlights. One of the things I know that you're working on and looking at is device fingerprinting, which is really cool.
Yeah, so we've been working on this. We're very close to making it available to the general public. We're really looking at our current customer base to adopt this. We think it's very complementary to our current platform. So today, we have an API. The request body, our client maps the features or attributes to the request body, and then we take that information, search it internally with our databases, externally with partners and vendors, and then feed it through our machine learning models to come up with a score. What the device fingerprinting technology allows us to do is we give a JavaScript line to our client, super easy, drop it in your application. This JavaScript would trigger every time a client comes onto that site or application flow. It would trigger the collection of additional metadata that may be indicative of fraud. Now you take that, couple that with the data that we're getting through the API response, bring it all together into the models. What you start seeing is an additional lift in terms of fraud capture. And it's all automated by this particular piece of code. So it's very powerful, it's very simple, which usually yields a really good result. So that's in the next roughly month, we'll be looking to deploy that and make it available to the general public.
Yeah. And then I know the other big project, I know it's been one of your pet projects for a long time. You've been talking about this, forever, but really making a lot of progress now is around the dashboard.
Yes. I mean, as a former user of the dashboard, I can sympathize with just, it served its function, and I think it's now outlived its shelf life.
Right.
We are kicking off a complete redo of our client dashboard. I would like to think about it. We still need to come up with a more catchy name, but it's an intelligence hub. We are a data science company at its core. We are solving identity-related problems, but as data scientists, we can slice and dice and take insights out of data better than most, if not all, companies out there. And we want to put that back onto our clients' or customers' hands. So when they land on this dashboard, not necessarily just to go and conduct a review or go through the audit of transactions, but it's a place where they can explore and look at data in real time and get insights that may not be as obvious as others, that when you go into a transaction and you deep dive into like, okay, what happened with this transaction, more from like the meta perspective, right? Like what's, as simple as where are all the calls coming from, visualizing it, like what are some of the clusters, like why was this particular customer ranked in the top 2 percentile of the riskiest population? Well, click on this. This is how it compares to similar applications. And it all goes, at the end of the day, toward making AI more explainable. There's a big trend in the industry where, AI is great. It yields good results, but can you explain it?
Right.
And I think that's going to be a big focus for us with this new dashboard. I can't wait to get it in the hands of customers and then get some feedback on how to make it better. But we're assigning a full dedicated team to go after that.
I know. Yeah, as a former user, it's great that you can appreciate what a upgraded dashboard would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about watch list? Is that included in the new dashboard?
Yeah. So one of the things that we've done, and it's actually currently in production, is allowing the client to choose their filtering criteria. What you'll find is, depending on what industry, even within that industry, depending on the tier of the bank, even within that tier, depending on the management of the bank, they'll have different criteria on what they would define as let's at its simplest level, say a pass or a fail. And when I mentioned a deep focus on customer experience, I want to simplify the product further for clients to use. So, things with watch lists, for example, we've allowed now for filtering on particular responses from watch lists. Like, I only want to see hits that have a name and date of birth match. And you can now set that up directly from within the dashboard, and the best part of that is you don't have to touch any code.
Yeah.
Our dashboard is user permission. As long as you're the admin, you can go in, click on date of birth as a matching criteria, hit save, and then boom, it goes into production immediately. We're looking to do that to several of our other products and allow the client to easily go and configure how they want to filter results or how they want to apply the logic.
Wow. This is really cool. I feel like I need to let you get back to work because you have so much that you're working on. I appreciate you taking the time to share.
Thank you.